everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video I'm going to be focusing on reading my library haul. So before I get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books and I post videos every Sunday. So these books I've got out from the library kind of don't really fit any of the other reading vlogs that I've been planning on doing for the rest of the year, so I thought I'd just do a whole video based on reading them. So my goals for the end of the year are to wrap up as many series as I possibly can or make progress in as many of them as I can as well. But I've also wanted to keep in with the theme of like reading seasonally. So when this goes up it will be November, but as I'm filming it it's sort of mid spooky season, so I kind of want to read some like spooky books. So the first book I'm going to be reading is going to be continuing a series, so that's going to be Babylon's Ashes by James S.A. Corey, and this is the 6th book in the Leviathan Awakes series. And then keeping in with like the spooky vibes, so we have a thriller which is The Ice Retreat by Ruth Kelly. I have read 2 books by this author previously and enjoyed them, so I gave one I think like a 3.5 and one a 3 star. So I think, to be honest, this is going to be like the deciding one for me as to whether I continue with this author, because I think this is their latest release. I think they have one coming out this year or maybe early next year, so I think this is going to be the deciding one whether I carry on with this author or not. I then have another thriller which is In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I have read a couple books by this author before and have enjoyed them, so I'm excited to get to this one. And then lastly we have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I have read one book by this author before, and that was, I can't remember what it was. I can picture the cover, I just can't remember what it's called, but I will put a picture of it on the screen. And I did really enjoy it, so I'm excited to read this one. I think this is like spooky autumn vibes, so I'm really excited to get to this one. So I do actually think I am going to start with Mexican Gothic. Hey guys, so I'm just coming in with the first reading update for this vlog. I have actually started and finished reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm going to give this one I think a 3-star rating. So this one we follow our main character Naomi, and she lives in Mexico. She receives a letter from her cousin Catalina which is very worrying, and her father, Naomi's father, Catalina's uncle, is extremely worried. Catalina has no mother and father to look out for her, so Naomi's father kind of takes her under his wing and looks out for her. He was extremely worried because a year prior Catalina just really suddenly announced her engagement to this guy called Virgil, and they got married and then no one's really heard from her since. She has quite a lot of money from her parents' estate, and Naomi's father is concerned that this family are taking advantage of Catalina. So they receive this letter that's basically saying like, my husband's poisoning me. It's really quite a deranged letter, and he sends Naomi to visit her cousin to find out what on earth is going on. When Naomi gets there she sees that Catalina is definitely not herself. She seems very like sluggish, and the family are definitely hiding something. We meet Virgil, the husband, we meet Francis, who I think is his cousin, and then there's a whole cast of characters. We've got Florence, who seems to be like the matriarch of the house. We've got Howard, who's the grandpa, and things like that. So I can't really remember who is who in relation to who, to be honest with you. I feel like this book plot-wise was just kind of non-existent for the first sort of half, and then just kind of went a bit of a weird direction in the latter half of this book. So in the first part, Naomi, I don't really like her as a character. She's very disrespectful to this family, so she's going to visit them and she's staying in their house, yet she won't abide by any of the rules, which are quite reasonable. For example, like she smokes in the house even though they repeatedly ask her not to smoke in the house. She can smoke outside but just not in the house, and she just continues to smoke in the house. And they have rules around dinner times and things like that which she refuses to obey, and I just think it's quite rude actually that these families hosting you and just refuse to follow their rules. And I guess it's kind of supposed to be reflective of her character, that she's rebellious and she does what she likes kind of thing, but it was just kind of quite bratty. And then the setting of this book, so it's supposed to be set in Mexico in the 1950s, but to be honest with you, I only know it was set in Mexico in the 1950s because the book told me it was. There was no, you could have said this was set anywhere and I would have believed you. It's set in this mansion. We don't really tend to leave this mansion, so the setting of Mexico in the 1950s was very distant to us. The family that Catalina marries into, the Doyles, they are English, so there's only actually sort of 2 characters in this, well 3 characters if you're counting the father, who only really appears in a chapter. There's only really the 2 girls, Naomi and Catalina, who are Mexican, and then there's a whole commentary on sort of like how Mexicans are perceived in this time period from English people who have come over and things like that. Otherwise you wouldn't really know that this was set in Mexico in the 1950s, so that was kind of a bit disappointing. And I was expecting this to be sort of a little bit creepier throughout it. So it says, you know, on the front that it's wonderfully creepy, and really it's only like the last 80 pages that are kind of creepy. And by that point I'd kind of not lost interest, but like it hadn't pulled me in, so I just didn't really care about these characters. I think a 3-star rating is fair. Like, it was a quick read, it was kind of enjoyable, but it wasn't really anything special, I don't think. I definitely think the Gods of Shade and Shadow that I read by Sylvia Marina Garcia was a lot better than this. But yeah, considering how hyped this book seems to be, I thought it was very mid, and I sort of read a few reviews on Goodreads, and a lot of people seem to have rated it about 3 stars, so I don't think I'm the only one that was a little bit disappointed by this. Yeah, I was just kind of expecting more Mexican culture in this, and we didn't really seem to get that. And then the love story between our main character and another character just felt a bit forced, and I just didn't really buy into it. You know, considering the events of this book, if you've read it and you know, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, considering the events of this book, I just didn't really find it very believable, and it was very like rushed, and the family that Catalina marries into are just awful for many reasons. That's not really a spoiler, but I just think there's nobody that wants to. I just don't understand why Naomi's family didn't try and contact Catalina before this. I mean, I don't know, maybe that was the done thing back then when they were married off, you didn't really see them again, I don't know. But yeah, it just felt a bit odd really, and yeah, it was just 3 star for me. I was expecting something a little bit different, a lot more creepy atmosphere and more Mexican culture, which was definitely in Gods of Jade and Shadow. You definitely had more of a richer culture in that book, I think, than this one, and I was kind of expecting a similar thing, so maybe that's my error there. But yeah, 3 stars. I'm glad I've read it because I was interested in this one, and I think, I don't know, maybe I'll have a look at some of the other books that this author has and maybe read another one, I'm not sure. But yeah, 3 stars for this one, but I am glad I have finally read it. Hey guys, so I'm just checking in with another reading update. First of all, sorry if the lighting is a bit dark and gloomy. It's getting into winter and stuff, like autumn and winter now, so the lighting's going to be a bit rubbish for the next few months. But I have started and finished reading The Ice Retreat by Ruth Kelly, and I actually really enjoyed this one, and I gave it a 4-star rating. In this one we follow our main character Holly, and we do get a few other perspectives throughout this book as well. But essentially she is a investigative journalist. Is that investigative journalist? Yeah, so she's an investigative journalist, and she has a Netflix series where she basically out frauds for who they are, essentially. So for example, in this book there is a woman called Ariel, and she runs something called the Ice Retreat, where basically if you have like chronic pain or pain from an illness and things like that, she claims that you can come to this retreat and you can do like ice treatment, where essentially you have like ice baths and things like that, and she will cure your pain. It turns out that Holly's brother went to the Ice Retreat, and then when he came home a few weeks later he committed suicide. There have been a few cases like this of people returning from the Ice Retreat and committing suicide, and Holly decides to investigate, especially when a mother of a sort of youngish boy contacts her. He went to the Ice Retreat because he has some form of cancer, I believe, and he's in a lot of pain from it, and he is not heard from. Like, after his treatment finishes, he disappears. So she decides to go and investigate and film a expose about this place. So she is been tweeting and harassing sort of Ariel for quite a few months, and Ariel and the team invite her and one cameraman up to the retreat to see what they do and see if they can change her mind about their retreat. Holly gets there with a guy called Rez, I think, and he's the cameraman, and they've worked together before. They start exploring this place. Rez does one of the treatments, and as the days go on, things become a bit more and more sinister. So we have a few staff members here as well, so they're on like skeleton staffs. There's Ariel, there's a woman called Tinks, I believe, who basically kind of does the admin. She's Ariel's like right-hand woman kind of thing. And then there's a chef called Luca who went to the retreat years ago and was a success story and just works at the retreat now. We have some perspectives from Martin, who is the boy who went missing, and we also get some perspectives from a girl named Florence. Now Florence was in a fire many years ago, and she had to have many operations, many skin grafts to help her, and she is at this retreat with Martin, and we kind of get both their perspectives and what's going on, and that's where the mystery thriller unfolds. So I gave this one a 4-star rating. I thought the pacing in this one was really well done. The ending wasn't rushed at all. I feel like when Holly discovered sort of what was going on, and as we discovered what was going on with Holly and the other characters, it wasn't a rush to end it. We really did like explore what was going on and who was involved and things like that, so that was really good. The suspense in this was really good as well. There was a few clues along the way as to what was going on that you pick up as little breadcrumbs, but I couldn't really guess what was going on. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was such a quick read as well. Like, I think Ruth Kelly is maybe not the most deep thriller author, but sometimes you just want like a quick and easy thriller. I would definitely say this this is that, but also with a little bit of a deeper aspect as well towards the end. I do think with her books there's always like a sort of message near the end that you sort of learn from. But yeah, I really did enjoy this one. The characters were also really interesting as well. Like, they obviously all had their own motivations, and some of them were obviously not quite what they seemed to be, and you couldn't really tell who was the bad guy here. Like, obviously Holly goes in completely hating Ariel and everything that she stands for, and actually maybe that's not quite what's going on here. Like, I'm obviously not going to say this, don't spoil anything, but there's definitely more to it than that. I think as well, like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I think like when Holly gets there and they're talking to some of the people that live around the retreat, like, there's a lot of red flags straight away, and they try and hide what's going on. And yeah, it was just really, really good. Actually, I really enjoyed this one. The suspense was really good. I don't really want to say too much else because I think you should go into this not really knowing too much about it, but I would definitely recommend this book, and I would definitely recommend the author. I've read The Villa by them back in summer, and I've also read The Escape, and I think this one's definitely my favourite of the three that I've read. So yeah, this one was really, really good, and I really, really enjoyed it. 4-star rating, and would highly recommend. Yeah, if it sounds like your vibe, even if it's not the kind of normal thriller that you would read, I definitely recommend it. It was definitely very different to what I've read before. Most thrillers that I read are like very domesticated thrillers, and I think the setting of like a almost retreat / hospital aspect was really quite creepy in some places, especially at one point there's like hidden passages that Holly discovers, and it's actually quite sinister and creepy what's going on, or what's been going on I should say. But yeah, this one was really, really good, and I really, really enjoyed it. Hey guys, so I'm just checking back in. I have now read the next book for this reading vlog, which is Babylon's Ashes, and I gave this one a 3.5-star rating. So in this one, this is the 6th book in the Leviathan Wakes series out of 9 books, and we follow 4 main cast members. We have James, Naomi, Alex and Amos, and they are all on a ice hauler called the Canterbury, and the ship picks up a distress signal and they go and investigate. Whilst they're investigating this other ship, the Canterbury is blown up. So that is the very beginning of the very first book, and they are the only survivors, obviously, as they weren't on the ship at the time. There's a whole sort of like political conspiracy going on involving Earth and Mars and the moon, and there's a system called the Belt, which is a load of spaceships around all these planets where people live on. An alien substance is found called the protomolecule, and basically everyone is kind of fighting to get their hands on it and use it for their own gain. And as the series has progressed, the protomolecule has progressed as well, and we're at the point where we have now really opened up this world, and there's a lot of infighting with the politics. So there's a lot of politics between, like I said, Earth, Mars, the Belt. There's a army called the OPA, and they fight for like Belters' rights, and people on like Earth and Mars really look down on people on the Belt because they can't cope with gravity and things like that. And there's just a whole lot of things going on essentially. And we also have some other key players such as Avasarala, who is like a big player in the UN on Earth. We have a guy called Fred Johnson, who is the leader of the OPA. We have Anderson Dawes, who is the old leader of the OPA, and we have Bobby, who's a Martian Marine, and we have all sorts going on. So this has a lot of different perspectives. From the perspectives in this book of the main 4, we only actually read from James and Naomi. We don't read from Alex and Amos as we did in the previous book, and we have some POVs that we haven't had before, and we've had some that we haven't had for a while. So I can't really go too much into the plot of this one because obviously it's the 6th book in a series, and that would just spoil like everything that's happened so far. But I gave this one a 3.5-star rating, mainly because the sort of first 60% of this book, not a lot really happened, and I was finding it quite boring and tedious. And I don't mind a good political book. I read a lot of fantasy, and like that just kind of comes with the genre, but I need things to be happening with the politics, and it felt like what we were reading was very repetitive and we weren't really getting anywhere with it. And then obviously there's like a big sort of battle and a big fight at the end of the book, which was quite interesting. And I just feel like this book kind of, we had this big plot in this book which we've carried on from the previous book with this sort of bad guy, and like Naomi's past is coming sort of to haunt her sort of thing, and then everything kind of happened off page. Like we're leading up to this big sort of battle, and then it's just kind of like boom, over, and we just read about it 6 months later, and it was just a bit anticlimactic, and just the payoff for this one wasn't really worth it. Now obviously with a series that is this long, we're going to have books that maybe aren't as good as other books, and I think we're kind of getting a bit of a lull, and maybe this was where they originally were going to stop it, because I feel like this ended on quite a good note to maybe have like an open ending, but like all the characters have kind of resolved things, and it was a good place to end it. So I'm interested to what is going to happen in the 7th, 8th and 9th book, because as far as I'm concerned, like obviously there's a lot of politics still going on. A lot of the big main stories we've kind of resolved. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go, and I'm going to continue on with this series. Like I said, 3.5 isn't a bad rating, it just wasn't the best in the series, and I think that's a fair rating for my enjoyment of it. I would recommend this series if you enjoy reading sci-fi. I mean, I'm sure people have already probably read this, but it's also a TV show on, I think it's on Amazon at the moment. But yeah, it was really good. I really like the wide range of characters and POVs that we get, because it feels like sometimes the POV that you're reading from, you think, how does this person fit in with like the wider scope of the plot, and then it all makes sense at the end. So like they're very good at, so James and Corey is a author duo, and they're very good at tying everything together, but also in this one it just wasn't as good. Like a lot of things were left open, and yeah, it was just a bit anticlimactic, and you're reading these POVs and I'm just like, I don't really understand why I'm reading this POV. Maybe in the next book it will make sense, maybe this person is going to tie more into the plot in the later books, but yeah, it was just a bit not the best one in the series. So I don't really have too much more to say about this book, because like I said, it's the 6th book in the series. I can't go into the plot at all, but yeah, it was like a solid installment. It's not bad, it just wasn't the best one in the series yet, in my opinion. So I'm excited to read the next one in the series. I'm probably going to have a bit of a break from this series and pick it up again next year, and hopefully finish it out as well if I've only got 3 books left. But yeah, this was good. It's a great series though, and I would highly recommend. So now I'm going to get onto the last book for this vlog. Hey guys, so I'm just coming in to wrap this reading vlog up. I have read the final book for this vlog, which is In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, and I didn't really enjoy this one. I gave it a 2-star rating. I'm seeming fine with Ruth Ware. I either really enjoy her books or I really don't like them. Like I really enjoyed The Death of Mrs. Westaway, One by One, and I haven't really enjoyed In a Dark Dark Wood, and I really didn't like The Turn of the Key. So I think I might give another one a go, and then maybe if I do or don't like that, that might sort of sweat. I think 5 books is more than generous for an author, and if I don't like 3 of them, I think that's it for me. But this one, we follow our main character Nora, or Leonora, and she was in a relationship with a guy when she was 16, and she hasn't spoken to her ex-best friend for 10 years, and then out of the blue she gets a invite from one of Claire's, so that's the friend from school, she gets an invite from one of Claire's friends inviting Nora to Claire's hen do, and then Claire is a bit taken aback by this because they haven't spoken in 10 years. And then one of their mutual friends says, Nina says like, well, I'll go if you go, kind of thing. And then they get there and Claire is a bit stunned as well as to why Nora is here as well. And it turns out Claire is marrying James, who is the boy that Nora went out with when she was 16, and she's basically never gotten over him. Like she's really hung up on him and how everything went down with him. And then at the hen do, obviously she meets some of Claire's friends. There's not really many people there. And then there's a girl called Florence who is like weirdly obsessed with Claire, who like dresses like Claire, and then things start happening and someone breaks in the night and is murdered, and we kind of go from there. So this is told in like the past and the present, as in the past as in the hen night, and then the present of Nora being in hospital and figuring out what exactly has happened on this hen do. She can't remember what has happened. It was just quite boring, to be honest with you. I didn't really find it very thriller, considering it says it's called In a Dark Dark Wood. There was no woods. Claire runs through the woods like once, and that's it. So the title is quite misleading. I just think the whole entire premise was actually just quite boring. It's pretty obvious to me anyway who was behind like what happened and what went down, and it was just very boring, very anticlimactic. Like Nora is hung up over this guy from when she was 16. It's like, you're 26, it's been 10 years. She hasn't had a relationship since, and it's just kind of like, move on, like get a life. And I don't know, I just didn't really feel any sympathy for her. She was very whiny, very whingy, and then like Claire was just like a terrible. I just don't understand why you would even go to this hen do if you don't like this girl and you haven't spoken for 10 years. Like I just don't really understand that myself. Like I can't imagine going to the hen do of girls that I don't like. Like why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in that situation? The writing was also quite basic. I didn't really find it very intriguing. Like there was nothing keeping me on the edge of my seat really. I feel like I knew exactly what was going to happen, who it was, and yeah, just not really the best book I've read. And yeah, I think 2-star. Like it was quick to read because like it was very, like I said, there's very simple writing style, it's very quick to read, but it was just quite boring in my opinion. And when I looked on Goodreads at some of the ratings for this, a lot of people seem to agree that this is not one of Ruth Ware's best works. So I mean, I'm glad I read it, I've given her another shot, but I think the next book I read by her will kind of be like the decider as to whether I continue on with her books or not. Yeah, just didn't really like this. A lot of the characters as well. So there was a set of characters. We had Nora, Claire, Nina, which is the mutual friend, and then there was someone called, was it Maddie or something like that? She left pretty early on in the hen do, and like nothing really came of her. So she had a child, she'd just given birth like 6 months ago, she left the baby with her husband, and like that was just her entire personality. And then she left and like never seen from again. And then there was like Florence, there was a guy called Tom. They were just, like they all seemed to know each other, but they didn't, and I just don't really know how to explain it. It was just not really very good. So yeah, not really very good in my opinion. I mean, it might be your cup of tea, but it wasn't scary. There was no suspense. Like I feel like you could guess what was going to happen. I feel like the synopsis, you could probably guess what happened and who was behind it. But yeah, this wasn't really very good, so 2 stars for this one. That is kind of why I like to use the library, for authors that maybe I'm not sure of, or like thrillers that like I'm never going to reread a thriller. So I think using the library for them, and if I don't enjoy them, it's cost me no money apart from going and getting the book. It's cost me no money, so I haven't really lost out by not enjoying a library book. But then you find sometimes with library books, they're like still a 5-star read, so it's really good I think to utilize, because I mean we should be supporting our libraries. They are dying out really sadly. Like my one, the opening hours aren't really very good, so I struggle to like actually go down there very often. Support your local libraries, use them, save yourself some money as well, especially like, if you know you're not going to reread it or you're not sure on the author, they're definitely worth utilizing. So that is going to be it for this video, where I have read some of my library holds. So I'm really pleased they can all go back to the library now. Comment down below if you've read any of these books or any of these authors. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.